age-old question. How much do you bench? You don't even have to be a power lifter, right? I was walking through a pharmacy or like a Walgreens Rite Aid a little while ago, and some guy came up behind me, tapped me on the shoulder. I look around, bro, how much do you bench? I'm like, I don't look like that big of a bencher, do I? So of course I had to throw a number out there for him. Of course I'm going to use an old equipped number in a shirt, not what I bench raw, because he doesn't know. And if I try to explain the difference, he's not going to know. Right, but a lot of people ask that, or you'll hear, you know, well, in high school I benched X. You hear that a lot about squat too. Just find it fascinating how people will walk up to lifters, and that's one of the questions that they have if they don't bench press or don't commonly lift. Interesting to me. So let's help all of your athletes lay down and exercise. My other favorite joke about bench press. The only time in the meet you do actually get to lay down and exercise. Anyways, let's help them fine-tune their mechanics. If you've seen the squat section first, you know we're just leading in here with a little more talk-based about movements specifically that we may not, a little more extra nuance that we won't dive into, and an extra way to help some assessments for the movement. We will jump into the setup here at the end as well. This might be shorter, a little bit shorter, the same thing with the deadlift section than our squat, because in the squat we talked, you know, a little bit of more theoretical about how programming faults are not always you know, the fix. So trying to make an athlete stronger, yes, we can all do that, and that's the end goal, but if they have grave movement faults, that's going to be a problem. So let's just dive in right there since I'm chatting about it as we talk about the bench press. So remember, it's not always a technique versus a strength thing. Some people would like to look at, well, you can't lock the bar out. This is an example I'll give here. You're struggling to lock out, so I must give you pin presses. You just need more tricep strength. Okay? From a high level overview, I'll buy into that. However, if we make their triceps stronger and their bench doesn't go up, what's our plan now? We have a problem. You see, if we're only looking at a snapshot in time, or not even looking at a snapshot, just looking at numbers, we're missing something with our programming. We'll dive into programming with a full section. You might have already hopped ahead and watched that. But it's a problem if we don't have eyes on our clients. And I hear that from a lot of online coaches who do online coaching and programming. Some things like very inexpensive apps that coaches use don't allow a lot of time for feedback and video reviews. Some coaches that just write, you know, a $20 bench program and throw it out there. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not knocking that. If you guys do it, it can be a great extra revenue source. But it's hard to really fine tune your athletes with a program like that if we don't have eyes on them. Now, we at Kabuki have released a less expensive coaching option, than our one-on-one, because we know it's not necessarily ideal, because I won't be able to view these nuanced things as I'm going to talk, but it gives, you know, a younger college student or somebody who can't afford full programming a chance to dive into our coaching platform, right, for lack of better terms. So again, not knocking you guys if you're doing it. You should probably have multiple ways that you're you know, reaching out and marketing to your clients, multiple funnel points into your system. However, back to the tricep argument in bench, if we don't have the tricep strength, we think, but let's just imagine all we had is a video of from here up. That's all you saw. You didn't see unrack, you didn't see it touch the chest in the meet. It's just a video comes on from here to here. You see it slow down and they struggle, bar moves or some movement, and they just cannot lock it out, bar comes back down. You see that and you're like, they looked pretty good, right? There was nothing crazy going on with the bar. They must just need more tricep strength. If we can analyze in person over video, now again, to jump back to programming, we may not always have the time or energy to do that for entry-level clients just doing a program, but that's where the difference comes in for the coach's eye and quality programming. Now, what a lot of people will argue is, well, yes, that client needs more tricep work, but if they unracked and they brought the bar down from way up here in a trapped up position, and to get their chest to touch, they dumped, and then they came back underneath it and got their arms in a pretty good position, but stalled out. Making their triceps stronger may make that bench press go up, but it may not. And even if it does go up, you're going to be a stronger, crappy bencher. So if you're stalling out at 350 pounds, whatever the case may be, now we might get them, a 370 bench, but we're still failing the same way. Road to that, iconic 400 in this example is just going to be tough, and it's very frustrating, not to mention pain, problems, other things. So another one we hear is, well, just add pin presses. That can be a problem, the other example I'll use here for tricep strength, if there's a technical fault. You can have somebody press from pins right here and they look excellent. And let's say they start repping 400 pounds for there. You're like, wow, that's going to fix their problem. They go to the meet, they miss the same, 363, whatever it is, the same way that they did last meet, because this doesn't help guide them through that fuller range of motion. So make sure, just like squats, you're assessing the entire movement, and if applicable, you're getting eyes on it and go quality video so you can do your job better and coach these nuanced pieces. Fixing it through technique, fixing it through quality programming that we dive into later on today. Remember, hopefully by the time you've heard deadlift, you're tired of me saying this, but it'll make sense and click. A good movement should start in position, stay in position, and finish in position without any positional degradation. I love the way Brandon talks about it. You'll hear it later, but I'm going to recap it here. There's less going on in the bench compared to a squat, for sure, and I mean less moving parts of the body, right? Bar path's going to be a little bit different. There is a natural curve that goes back over our head or over our shoulders and our chest that I'll talk about. But essentially, point A, point B. It's fairly simple when it comes to that. Yes, arching, breathing, bracing, rooting, leg drive. Really good benchers will tell you it's not that simple, and I agree, but let's just back off what it is. We're laying down, we bring from point A to point B, and we press it back to return position. Pretty simple mechanics there. With the bench, a lot of the problems that we're going to see is people get out of position, and it comes at multiple points. That's covered in fault, so I won't cover it a ton here, but if we were to pause this video at any point and time in the bench press, it should have started, stayed, and be finishing in position. Deadlifts, that might change a little bit depending on how the athlete pulls. Squats, depending on how much they hinge, but you should always be in position in those lifts as well. How do people get out of position? Well, we'll dive into that more, but I'm going to give you some of the main issues we see so we can chat about it for a couple more minutes here at the table before we jump into the faults, performance points, fixes, etc. Setup. I should really harp setup on everything. I didn't dive in too deep on squats, but there's so much we see that's worse on bench setup than squats. Squats can be horrendous, deadlift can too, but people pull themselves out of position. I'm looking at the bench over here in the side of the room, you guys can't see. If the rack is too high, right? They just don't set up the rack right. Now, if you're in more of a commercial gym or you have clients in a commercial gym, that sucks because a really low on rack, if you're heavy and you're benching alone without a spot, probably shouldn't be, but that's really hard to get out and into position. It sucks. But too high sucks too. The stronger you are, the worse it's going to be to lift up and out, because the more weight that's in your hand, you will not reclaim that ideal start position with your scapula. People setting up too far out this way or tucked in too far, so they're always hitting the rack, or they have to reach way up here to get that bar out when it should just be this little unrack here moving 4 to 6 inches, if you will. There's so much that goes on with the feet you can see in bench. I like to call it happy feet. People unrack the bar, they look pretty good, and then the foot wobble. You don't see that as much in a squat because there's weight pressing us to the floor. You don't see that so much in the deadlift because there's weight pulling us to the floor. But we forget sometimes, as coaches, to pay attention to the small details in the setup. We'll give you our setup 101 here again at the end, and then a live version of that. But pay attention to that pre-setup series, the alignment. Teach your athlete where to be in relationship to the equipment and how high that equipment should be for optimal setup. And don't have happy feet. It's not going to help at all. That takes us right into leg drive. Leg drive can be a very nuanced topic. It should be pretty simple though. Prior to the unrack, right as the tension building is happening, we initiate some leg drive. And I should say more than some. Right before the bar comes out, the magic number we like to throw out is 70%. You should have about 70% of your maximum ability of leg drive there. You need to maintain that 70% all the way down. And if you're doing reps, between reps, once it touches, paused or not, in a meet we'll say, once you hear press command, that should go to 100% leg drive. We're gonna finish trying to tip that bench over, not put our butt up off the bench and drive our hips to the sky. Again, for reps, that goes from 70 to 100 as the bar comes off the chest, back to 70. It does not relax. There should be no happy feet and relaxation there. We're a coiled spring of tension, creating maximum force into the barbell. That coiled spring needs to stay coiled at all times. If you're in the off season, I see a lot of good lifters who have pretty good leg drive on their, competition peaking blocks and their phases, and on the platform they look pretty good. And then I'll watch an Instagram video of them doing a set of 5 or 8 or whatever it is, 15 in the off season. And their legs and their leg drive is just everywhere. It's horrendous. There's movement all over the place, or lack thereof, any quality leg drive. It can be a hard push, no pun intended, from your legs to keep that much tension for a set of 8 or 12 or 15. But that's where you'll really, really learn good quality leg drive. Multiple coaches have demonstrated multiple great things about this, but if you have maximum leg drive driving this way, depending on where your feet are at, but we can set up feet for pretty much every human to where if you tell them while they're doing that, not benching, you just set them up there, have maximum leg drive driving back, say pick your butt up off the bench. They cannot do it because their legs are engaging 100% this way. Maybe their knees are lower than their hips. Another great hack to lock that in. Their butt will not come up. But if you have them relax their legs and then do a hip thruster, their butt can come off the bench. So pay attention to that. If you've never seen it, jump in the gym and try it. It's amazing and eye-opening. The problem is when things get heavy, athletes go back to what I call the on and off leg drive, where you can visually see bump at the chest, bump. You see their whole body move. You see pressure from their legs. We shouldn't see that. Looking at some of the best bench pressers in history, not all of them are that clean, so some of you might see some drive and some dip and heave, but if you look at some of them, you're like, well, compared to this person, I didn't even see any leg drive. Like, was there any? I guarantee if you walked up and grabbed their legs and tried to shove them around and push or pull on them, there would be a ton of tension built up in there. Leg drive is constant and consistent with every step. So make sure that is something you're really diving in with your athletes. We also find as we start to jump up into the shoulder girdle, that helps keep the scapula depressed and seated in the right position, because as I'm driving my legs this way, that's making me a coiled spring, right? That's helping shove my shoulders down this way. If I have crappy leg drive and no coiled spring from the lower body up, it's easy for these to start to slide out of position. You might have seen that with your athletes or felt that yourself if you do a lot of feet up bench press, that it's harder to hold your scapula in good position. I've noticed that myself recovering from back surgery. Some sets I just don't have it as good as I used to feel, but that's because feet are up for all of my sets currently. We have to highlight on this because it happens all the time. If you're a newer coach to the sport, or even a more experienced coach to the sport, you know this, but don't forget it for your newer athletes or masters athletes, open athletes, people that need it. You got to train with the pause. And more importantly, a correct pause. As a national level referee with the USPA, I see a lot of coaches that are new to the sport and athletes new to the sport like, Coach, why that was the longest pause ever. You're so, ref, you're so mean. That was the longest pause here. Well, read the rule book. I'm not trying to be difficult. The barbell is not under control at your chest, or it's not touching your chest. It's like a 1/4 inch up. I can still see light between that, and you think you're paused. It's at the chest, but there's wiggles and shifts. I need to see control over that bar before I can give press. I feel like I'm very, personally, I'm very consistent and honest per the rule book with the amount of time that I make the bar pause. But I need to see that it's under control and the movement has to stop. A lot of coaches and athletes miss that part. Maybe they are training their athletes with the pause, but it's an ugly pause. As soon as I see that control, I'm not making you hang out for 1 or 2 seconds. I'll give the press command, but it has to be good control, good position. Same as a deadlift lockout. If you're wobbling up there and you don't look like you're locked out, I'm not going to give you a down command. I'm not trying to have you test your grip strength and make you hold it for me and showboat for 3 seconds, but the bar has to be under control. So to recap my point here about training with a pause, I see 2 major faults. A lot of coaches just don't train enough pause work, especially with newer lifters. Maybe they have the same strength level, so it's not a problem, but they blow the command because they don't have enough reps owning that pause on their chest. And coaches and athletes not understanding what control over that movement looks like, so they're double bouncing, there's movement there. If you get a press command, you're likely to get red lights because of those double bounces in that movement. We need to learn to get there as fast as possible, control the barbell as fast as possible, so we can be given that press command sooner rather than later. That leads into bouncing and heaving. We know that, but the biggest problem we see with it is shoulder mobility issues and dumps. I know a lot of athletes who like to sink and press the bar off their chest. Where we caution that is pec tears. We see it a lot. And I'm going to give you a test when we talk here about the nuances of scapular depression versus retraction, right? So if I dump a bar on my chest, I'm coming down, there's good tension in the pec, you can feel it if you put yourself in this position while you're watching at home, and as soon as I do this, shoulder elevates and the pec lengthens. Now, I can maintain tension under a muscle as it lengthens. Come right back to the bench. A squat. Lengthening. There's tension there, right? So that's would be like, I'm not sure I follow what you're talking here. But we're not excessively doing this at the bottom of a squat. Bottom of a bench, I dump. Look at the pec, it's going soft, right? You can feel that yourself. Tension. And this is an exaggeration, but it went soft. I've lengthened the pec under load to the point where it may not even be contracting 100%. And then I push my belly to the sky and get that big heave, and look, pecs rock hard again as it takes that load. Imagine a squat where you went to the bottom, let the quad relax, and then kicked back in. Maybe try to do that on a leg press with 1,000 pounds. No, I'm joking, don't do that. That's where we see a lot of pec tears. We also see continued shoulder issues, bicep tendon issues here, elbow pain. It is not a good long-term strategy. Think about, as again, one last time, we lengthen a muscle, it's deactive, and then we try to get back underneath it and activate it. Probably not going to go that well for you. If you try that in a deadlift, bring it to your knees, relax your entire body, and then explode, right? It doesn't work that well. And I use that example all the time with coaches. I would encourage you to think about that. That's why as we're coaching through these different modules, sometimes I'll step away from the bench and be like, hey, think about that context with a deadlift. Would that work well? I'd be like, well, no. Well, then why would we try that with a bench and not a squat and a deadlift? Now, I know there's techniques in a deadlift that help a deadlift and not a squat and a bench, so I'm not trying to put myself into too deep of a rabbit hole here, but it can help your athletes if they're really stuck in the mentality of I have to deadlift or bench or squat like this, and you can let them think about the anatomy and the musculature. Let's pull you out of this technique that you're stuck in. Let's think about how that works within the human body other ways, and then let's just reassess, is that something we really want to put our body through? Maybe so, maybe not. So be careful with those big dumps and bounces on the chest, because it's going to lead to a lot of problems. And lastly, when you see that, we did a test here at Kabuki with a velocity device because it'll measure range of motion. Now, I can't say the average heave and dump because everybody's different, but it's easy to get 3 to 4 inches from a good big belly, tall, 3 to 4 inches of heave. That's like a 2-ish to 3 board press, if you're familiar with board presses. That's a fair amount of motion. If we did a pin press or a board press, block press, and we didn't have a sink, most everybody, not everybody, most everybody would bench press more. So that's the other thing I give people who sink and heave a lot. I know you're creating some momentum, but if you could board press more, why wouldn't you just stay big and have a reduced range of motion? There's 2 arguments to that side, and a lot of people do utilize that. We just caution you because of the higher incident of injury with such a bench. Now, we get into, I'm just going to grab PVC stick here. We get into talks about shoulder girdle all the time. And the age-old, do we retract or do we depress, right? What's the proper motion? Well, remember, we have elevation, depression, protraction, retraction with the scapula. Then we have a rhythm of a lot of those things if we look at boxing, right? Or ring gymnastics, some CrossFit movements, weightlifting, swimming, multiple things that have a lot of scapulohumeral rhythm. Well, in the bench, we don't need that much. We need some depression and some retraction. People argue all the time that we must start, right? Squeeze your shoulder blades together, get up high on your traps. I encourage you to do this, just like the squat assessment we did, and I encourage you to do this with your clients if you never have. Very powerful tool. Feel free to follow along as you're watching this on your computer or your tablet. If I depress my scapula, if I elevate my scapula, we've already agreed by demonstration that that lengthens the pec, so it becomes soft. So does lat, because they're both depressors of the scapula. You can feel that by depressing your scapula, your pec gets tighter. Now relax shoulders again, retract your scapula as hard as you can, and feel how much tension's there. Not as much if I protract slightly. And I say slightly, cautiously here, not full protraction as far as possible. That actually makes the pec soft as well, because the shoulder is going past the shortened position of the pec major fibers into a lengthened position because it went too far, and now pec minor is the only thing really holding there. That's not what we're saying to finish or start benches here. But what we're also saying is don't come into a place where the pec is already not completely active for some of the same reasons we've talked about. When I touch my chest with a bar, look where we're at. If we just relaxed and thought row, boom, there should be retraction here. There's going to be some retraction in those shoulder blades. So we don't need to start in retraction because a good bench or row will end in retraction. So what we're saying is start with good scapular depression. Your pec is tight. As you pull to your chest, pec is still tight and engaged. Press off, returning back to start position. Doing that demo with athletes can really help them understand where they need to focus. Focus on depression, keeping the pec active, into good retraction, but that's really just touching your chest. We see a lot of athletes that start with a soft bench. It's going to be another problem on the platform, right? Real soft lockout starting here, but they're also not getting the pec and shoulder development from a strength or aesthetic standpoint that we would like to see from a good quality bench press. So be aware of that, because it's going to cause more problems than just rules or injuries. You're just not going to get as strong because it's constantly not under as much tension. That time under tension is not there. You're not fully utilizing the muscle fibers of the pec. So we've already covered some function of the scapula with that there in the pec test. Understand, just like the squat demo, that upper back mobility is imperative in the bench. Most people are hyper-focused on their, and coaches as well, on their back mobility so they can get into a bigger arch, and that's great, they should be. But having the eye for movement and understanding where most of that movement is coming from is key. If it's coming mostly from lumbar spine, we're really not getting a good opportunity for our T-spine to open up and the shoulder to function well, the scapula to function well around the rib cage. That also leads to this dump if people simply do not have the shoulder and T-spine mobility to get there. So make sure you're spending as much time addressing, we'll call this the upper back, here would be my head, right? Upper back. Most people are focused on this arch, which does increase how high my chest is going to come up, but as much time as we want to focus down here, let's make sure we're also focusing on getting that upper back into position. So just for fun, you can Google multiple x-rays of contortionists or yoga people who are in like a full plow pose with or sorry, not plow, I think it's wheel, with their feet, you know, face down on the floor and their feet behind them. We'll actually pop one right up here on the screen so you can better see what I'm talking about. And the Google more though, it's quite interesting. The T-spine does not have as much mobility as you would think. It kind of looks flat. And that's where a lot of people, when they see us, are like, well, what's the point? Look how much this person can arch out of their lumbar. Well, A, we want to keep low back discs safe. But that's not the problem. Most people are not in that flat position of the upper back, as you can see. Most people are only coming to here. Then the shoulders protracted forward. This is not an optimal bench press position or squat position. It's not an optimal position for healthy upper back and shoulders as well. So most times it's just reclaiming our natural curvature when we talk about T-spine extension. So if you have good extension, you're probably not going to get a bunch more from it. But again, make sure you have eyes on that and it's not shifting or changing in a negative way as your athletes get stronger. Cool, so that talks function of the scapula. Let's just jump in real quick and run over not the performance points of the faults, because you'll have those following this segment, but setup series. So again, step 0, alignment. I covered that earlier. Make sure everything is there and it's the same. We just got done talking T-spine extension, so it's a great time for me to chat about it here. Yes, it's okay to arch through lumbar as well, unless you have somebody with a lot of lower back pain and flexion or extension intolerances in the back, something you want to be careful of. But really have them hyper-focused on global extension. Again, global arch, as much as possible coming from the T-spine, because the scapula will function better. Once the athlete's set in that arch position, we want to make sure their elbows are under the bar. We're not trying to unrack like they're stuck in a multiply shirt and they're trying to spread that out. Raw lifters should have their elbows under the bar. They shouldn't be hyper-tucked. That is not good lat engagement. Remember, we can engage lats by depressing them. Internal, external rotation should be able to happen similarly, simultaneously, or not at all, because those motions can be different or done at the same time. This does not help your lat engagement. It definitely does not help your optimal position under the barbell. Step number 2, that's where we engage our lats, but we're going to do it via scapular depression. Remember, elevation, depression. Leg drive will help with that on step 4. Step number 3, brace, right? Always brace first, muscular. Breathe into that brace, finishing your IAP. Step 4, we've already got most of global tension, similar to the squat. Root your feet and create that initial leg drive, right? Saw my chair just pop up, that was cool. Didn't know I could do that one. Create that initial, there it is again, create that initial leg drive, rooting through the feet, driving through the floor. This is when the global tension should be created. I already feel, just getting excited talking about bench, thinking about that global tension. There's my leg drive. The bar might already be popping up, just like squats. And on deadlifts, the same thing's gonna happen. Warm-ups, this should be happening. That doesn't mean the bar started to come out, so I just brought it out. No, 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 no. Be patient. Bar starts to pop up, then I finish my unrack. Bar comes out, I'm gonna reinforce everything. My scap's as depressed as possible. Can I arch a little more? Can I brace harder? Can I get more air? Do I need it? Am I driving with a good percentage of leg drive? Are my feet rooted? If so, winner, winner, chicken dinner, execute, press. Things are beautiful. This becomes hard for athletes to do, just like squats, when doing a lot of repetitions. Don't hesitate to take your time and reset, or we should say reinforce, through those sets and reps. To walk back through one more time, we need to create some good extension in the T-spine. We need to, sorry, I'll back up, I missed my magic step 0. Alignment, walking up to the bar, make sure everything's the same. Hand placement, eyes, rack height, weights, everything as always. Step number 1, our good global extension. T-spine bias, that's when we like to use set elbows under the bar as well. Step 2, scapular depression, engaging those lats. Step number 3, brace. Breathe into that brace, finishing off good quality IAP. Step number 4, root those feet, even if you're up on those toes. Let's get good connection as much as we can with the earth, helping create leg drive, making that coiled spring. 70% is what we suggested prior to, during unrack, and descent of the bar. This really creates step number 5. It's kind of flowing like the squat. Global tension is created. It's completed. The bar might have levitated up a little bit. It might be hovering in the rack. You unrack the bar when you're ready. Even if it's out a little bit, then unrack, find position, reinforce everything. Step number 6. If your athletes are doing this, they look good. They just have to, they've started, they have to hold position, maintain and finish in good position. And that's how they execute the ending of the bench press. I'm excited to jump right into some of the common faults, a lot more in detail than what we did here, and how we're going to help you and your athletes fix that.